find your passion, it ignites you as a person. You just feel awesome. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. If this is your first time seeing me, hi, my name is Crystal. I do jiu-jitsu and I make videos to help you also do jiu-jitsu. Why am I feeling so awkward today? All right, so one of our jiu-jitsu sisters went over and found me on Patreon, and we've been messaging each other back and forth, and she's like, hey, you know, like, I am new to jiu-jitsu. She's like, I walked in and I could feel everybody. She could feel everybody staring at her, and she's feeling very like shy and awkward. And she's like, there's only like 2 other females, like the rest of the gym is like a bunch of dudes, and there's all these awkward positions. And she's like, how am I supposed to start rolling? This feels and looks super friggin' awkward. Girl, all right. So let me tell you a couple of stories, some personal stories of what happened to me, and we are going to talk about a game plan of how to get through this, because there's some super useful tips that I've definitely learned from my experience. So we're gonna go over four tips, all right? So tip number 1, when I first walked into jiu-jitsu, it is like, it's feeling like you're walking in to the first day of school. If you watched my video called like my first time, literally that's what I said. And it's almost like you're walking into a 1-room schoolhouse, where if it's a smaller school, everybody kind of like stops what they're doing, depending on if it's like class or whatever, and they'll look over. And it's not like a bad thing, because people are just interested. Like if you know, if it's class or whatever and somebody walks in and I'm not super, but I'm typically usually really focused on what I'm doing, but like if it happens to catch my eye, like I will look over. If it's a new female walking in, I'm like, yay, a new sister. If it's like a new dude walking in and he looks, you know, pretty athletic, I'm like,
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
fresh meat. You're feeling maybe accurate in people looking at you, but I mean, it's not like a bad thing, and they're not judging you. It's not anything to, you know, feel worried about. Like everything is going to be okay. All right. So that's tip number 1. Is that yes, like people will look at you because you're going to be a new family member, but that's nothing to worry about. The next one is, all right, so the jiu-jitsu positions. So this happens to males and females, and the entire humanity. This happens to humans. So I was talking with some of my like guy friends too that do jiu-jitsu, and it's the same thing. And so I'll even speak from what my guy friends have told me. So they're like, dude, calling me dude. Like, dude, I walk in and all of these guys are like aggressively hugging each other, trying to take each other's backs, and it basically looks like a prison scene from your scariest nightmare. Like, what are these people doing? And so to be in the positions in jiu-jitsu, if you have never had any other place to anchor to, like it's going to look like awkward positions for you. But what happens is once you start going to class and you're in these positions more frequently and you get used to it, you have something different to anchor to, and you're so focused on the technique that it gets less and less awkward the more time you spend in these positions. So it's just like a little hurdle that you have to get over. And once you're rolling, like the awkwardness goes right out the window, because you are like fighting. Like you're not thinking about, oh my God, this position kind of looks like during class, you might have time to think about that. But once you start rolling, like it is less awkward than class, because especially as a beginner, you feel like you're fighting for your life. And there's no time to feel awkward if you're literally fighting for your life. Like, let's play a game of play kill each other. You tap before I kill you. You don't feel awkward during that. Okay, so the tip, the second tip that we just went over is rolling, surprisingly, will feel less awkward than class because there's less time to think about it, and the more time you spend in these positions, the less awkward it feels because you can anchor it to jiu-jitsu instead of anchoring it to, you know, missionary. It's you're in guard. You have somebody in your guard. It's actually not missionary. Like, it's taking somebody's back. You're not in a bad prison scene from the third tip. Okay. So this really helped me. Okay, so the best piece of advice that I ever got and the best insight is this. So when you walk into a jiu-jitsu mat, onto the mat, it'd be kind of hard to walk into it. So you're walking onto the mat, right? And you're trying to roll. It's really important to understand the dynamics of what's going on during a roll and how you can successfully navigate that. So what this means is when you have people rolling, okay, sometimes they're trying to roll to defend the belt. So what that means is, like, a blue belt rolling with a white belt is going to be very adamant on beating that white belt in order to preserve, you know, their status and to have validation. So when you walk on the mat as a white belt, the upper belts, if you don't do anything differently, may be competitive with you because they need to validate their belt ranking by continuously submitting you. So here's what you can do in order to change that dynamic. What you can do is, during the roll, if something happens where they were very successful at doing something, like let's say they were very successful at keeping you in a pin or keeping a top position on you. So some top positions are, they could have kept you in mount. They could have been on top of you in side control. If afterwards you say to them, hey man, like, you had a really great top side pressure, you had really great like control over me, I couldn't escape. Do you think you could like give me a pointer of what I could do, because I am completely lost right now? So if you compliment them, then they're like, oh, I know, my like my mouth is pretty good. So that they feel good about that, and then they're more likely to teach you something. And you just turned somebody who could have been, you know, wanting to submit you, you've just turned them into your teacher. And if you can establish this type of relationship with everybody on the mat, all of a sudden, everybody is going to be your teacher and everybody is going to want to help you. And it's going to be a beautiful dynamic for you. And I successfully, like at my first school, like when I was a complete newbie white belt, I successfully did this and everybody was helping me and it was amazing and everybody was super nice. And I'll tell you what also happened. So during a practice round for the Shark Tank, when I was like a couple of years in, I remember afterwards, my coach was like, yeah, Crystal, you were the first female that ever, you know, went through this like Shark Tank, this practice round. And he kind of shook his head and laughed. And he's like, they placated you. And I was just like, what is, I had to look up the word placating, but basically like they were taking it easy on me. And I was like, you know, I was like, no, nobody's gonna take it easy on me. Like, how can I change this? And I'm not recommending you do this, but what I did was I made a video to basically talk shit and like got them mad at me. I was like, what are you like, you know, holding back on me? And basically got, from that moment on, they like smashed me hard on the mat. Like there was no mercy. So I'm not saying do that, but just know that like, you know, there's positives and negatives to everything. And especially like as a beginner, you may want taking the route of turning like the mat into teachers is great. And if you one day do want more pressure because you feel like things are feeling easy for you, just go ahead and ask them, hey, can you give me more pressure? You don't have to make a video to piss off your entire gym, because those years were tough after. Let me tell you. All right, and then here's the last and final tip number 4. Tip number 4 is, I love tip number 4. All right, so if you didn't know, Ronda Rousey, like she did so much for women in MMA. Her mom was a judo champion. And when her mom was, learning judo and coming up the ranks judo, if you haven't watched it yet, watch History of Jiu-Jitsu. Like, that's a really great video. And another video you can watch too is she wasting their time? That's another really good video to watch. So her mom, Ronda Rousey's mom, when she was learning jiu-jitsu, or when she was learning judo, like, that was during a time period where women weren't even allowed to compete in competitions. So seeing a female like on the tatami, on the mat, was like a freaking unicorn with like rainbows shooting out of orifices. You know what I'm saying? So she knew what it felt like. So every day when she would drop off her daughter, Rhonda, to go train, she knew that her daughter was going to be training with, a majority of people who didn't look like her. And she would tell her every day, like, Rhonda, I don't care if you're the only person like you on the mat, if you're the only female, whatever, you deserve to be there. And every day she would tell her daughter that, because it is, for some reason, when we look out on the mat, we don't see people that look like us. It can make us feel like they have some sort of like tribal connection that we're not a part of because we don't look like them. And to know that, like, hey, look, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be here. To say that every day and to have that in your subconscious and to basically brainwash yourself into thinking that definitely helps with your confidence. So don't be afraid. Definitely watch my video, Is She Wasting Their Time? Because it's super motivational, and I go through specific reasons why you definitely deserve to be on the mat. But it makes you feel more confident to get out there, because when you first start anything new, it can feel like everybody's watching you in a like negative way, and it can feel, even when they aren't watching you, you just feel like so insecure about it that you feel like everybody's watching you. But after, your first few weeks and people are used to seeing you, like, they literally aren't watching you. They don't give a shit. They're worried about their own jiu-jitsu, and pretty soon you're gonna be like, can somebody help me out here? I don't know what I'm doing. Hey. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and I believe in you. You can do this. Yes, at first it does feel awkward and it does feel weird, and it does for everybody, especially if they're not used to having contact with like other humans in that way. But you will like get over it with time. It just becomes normal. And when you start rolling, it will definitely feel less awkward than the class, because you will not have time to think anything else except, what are they doing? How can I defend it? And it just gets very, there's no weirdness. No, try it. But what you can also do too is, if there are females like on the mat, you can always ask them, like, hey, like, how did you break into rolling? How did you start rolling? And if you can, you can always share with them, like, hey, I'm feeling a little nervous to roll. Like, do you think we could roll together? Like, sharing that with anybody is gonna make them want to help you. Like, anybody with a friggin' soul. I know redheads aren't supposed to have souls, but but like, people are gonna want to help you, especially if you take the approach that I mentioned in the steps that we talked about. All right, so thank you so much for watching. If you watched this whole video and you have not subscribed yet, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you're being weird if you've watched more than one video and haven't subscribed yet. So don't be awkward. Just, all right. Until next time, hugs and love.